Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, bringing y'all two pretty heavy topics today for the Burgundy and Gold. First of all, it's been announced that fans, as of right now, will not be allowed at stadiums. And I'm going to dive into that from both viewpoints, both sides of the battle, and just truly analyze the ramifications of a decision like that. And then also, I want to talk about our new broadcast booth team with Deangelo Hall and Bram Weinstein. And then as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm getting right back to working on the other content because I have some special stuff coming for y'all this week. I'm excited. But before we get to the video, you already know we got to huddle up like we normally do. Before we get to the content that y'all came for, make sure y'all go buy the best Burgundy and Gold merch anybody can buy. Just hit the link in the description of this video under Go Get Street Scores merch. Now, let's get it. Alright, so first of all, Washington announced this morning, as of right now, the plan is to have no fans in the stands at FedEx Field for the 2020 season. The announcement leaves open the possibility of a change in this policy as the season goes on. But as of today, as scheduled for week 1, which is in less than a month, there will be no fans at FedEx Field. Here's the official announcement from the team. With the health and safety of its fans and employees top of mind, the Washington football team announced today that NFL games at FedEx Field will be played without fans during the 2020 season. While the organization had developed a comprehensive health and safety plan in close coordination with the state of Maryland and Prince George's County, this decision, endorsed by local officials and partners, comes out of an abundance of caution due to the rapidly changing dynamics of the COVID-19 pandemic. The decision will be reevaluated by all parties should the situation surrounding the pandemic improve over the course of the season. And this is kind of breaking news. First of all, I believe we're the first team to just go ahead and announce this and just declare that we won't have fans to start off week 1. It seems like Dan Snyder has been ahead of the curve this offseason. This is the first offseason I've actually enjoyed Dan Snyder's leadership to an extent, with the hiring of Ron Rivera, getting rid of the old training staff, bringing in a new and trustworthy one, an award-winning one. He was the first owner when the pandemic first started to announce that none of his employees and scouts will be going to work in person. They would work virtually to make sure that everybody stays safe. And then every other owner in the league, the entire NFL, followed suit. So Dan Snyder's been a trendsetter. He's done many other great things this offseason, but that's just to start off. And not even just the big hires like Jack Del Rio, Ron Rivera, and Scott Turner, but he brought in great positional coaches like Ken Zampese, that was the QB's coach for Baker Mayfield that one season we've seen greatness from. And here he goes trendsetting again, because I'm pretty sure a lot of NFL teams will follow suit after his announcement. And it's crazy too, because on July 24th, recently hired Executive VP and Chief Marketing Officer Terry Bateman said that Washington was planning on having fans at the games as of July 24th. Now it appears the unpredictability of the coronavirus pandemic has caused the franchise to do a 180. But again, they haven't just officially announced that they will never have fans in 2020. But as of today, with how things are going and how things are projected to go, with the NFL regular season starting in less than a month, and we're not even at the point in training camp where players are even wearing helmets, let alone actually having full-on contact, and they have announced that there will not be fans at the stadium, at least live. Maybe they may explore an option of virtual fans like the NBA does and having generated crowd noise. That could work. Because honestly, when I've been watching games of the NBA bubble, it doesn't really feel different. I mean, of course, it looks different because there's not real fans there, but the virtual fan idea has been pretty cool. It's been a source of comedy. It hasn't been genuine, of course, but it's been a source of comedy with people at their homes virtually and all kinds of silly stuff going on. Adds an extra dynamic. Again, the negative is that it's not genuine. It can't be really taken seriously, but it is an interesting idea for the NFL to explore. And look, the Washington football team even acknowledged the fact that they were the first team in the league to recall their scouts and other personnel from the field back in March, and have been monitoring this evolving situation ever since. And it's crazy too, because we wouldn't be in this situation if this country took this pandemic as seriously as other countries. You see, other countries are basically just almost back to normal. They just have travel restriction bans to make sure that nobody from outside the country or somebody from in their country goes outside the country and comes back and starts the pandemic over again. You see other countries having soccer games like it's normal. So if we would have just taken this pandemic seriously, we would have football, and unfortunately, us as a whole, I super did, but us as a whole, us as a country did not. So now we suffer with us more than likely having football with no fans, and us quite likely not even finishing the season depending on what's going on. But again, the team did announce that they will evaluate the situation going forward. So it's not definitive that we won't have fans at the stadium at all at any point during the 2020 season. And it's wild too, because you see college football conferences canceling their seasons. I think right now the only big conferences that's left are the ACC and the SEC. Big 10, Big 12, and the Pac-12 have already announced that they will not be having seasons going forward. And now on one side, I definitely feel for the guys that are at the games no matter what. Rain, sleet, or snow, 0 and 15 still at that last game, screaming their hearts out, and they're the true, dedicated, gotta be at the game, every game type of fans. I really feel for them. They're suffering the most from this country as a whole, not taking the pandemic seriously enough and quarantining and wearing masks and social distancing and all of that. So my hearts really go out to them. Me personally, I prefer to watch games at home. First of all, I love live streaming with y'all every game, whether it be a Thursday night game, Sunday night, Monday night, Sunday evening, or preferably for me, Sunday 1 p.m. so I can be on a consistent schedule of live streaming with y'all every game. And then also, even before I started live streaming, live every game with y'all, and then having the game reviews an hour after the game's end. I just like watching multiple games at the same time. I like watching and studying the game, not just necessarily chilling back and enjoying myself, but like fully studying, watching the game on my screen, and then having other games up too, like 4 or more games on another screen, and then just in full football robot mode. And also, I like to enjoy my own food. Instead of spending $5 on one hot dog, $10 on some popcorn, $8 on a drink, I can be at home and be eating pasta and all kinds of other food. So me personally, the stadium environment isn't for me. I'm the X's and O's robotic type of guy, not the passionate screaming, not the at the game, loving the crowd atmosphere type of guy. And even so, I still really feel for the guys that are those type of guys. And I would like to apologize on behalf of the rest of America for not taking this seriously enough, for y'all not to have the experiences that y'all deserve. But there are some positives to this. First of all, it's safety precaution. If we want to have a season for as long as possible, we have to sacrifice having fans at the stadium. Would y'all prefer to have fans at the stadium and only play 3 games this season? Or would you prefer to have no fans at the stadium and play 16 full games of the season, having a full 17-week season like we normally do, canceling preseason though, and having a postseason, and just having no fans at any of the games? And it looks like the NFL and most of us, including me, would prefer to just have no fans at the stadium and have as long of a season and as healthy of a season as possible. Also, just practicality wise, and the Burgundy and Gold franchise may not admit this out loud, but removing all of the old logos and names and all of that from around the stadium and adding the new ones was going to take a lot of time and effort and money, and it may not have been ready by week 1 if we were having fans. Now with no fans, they can take their time. They can make sure that they get rid of and change the logo and the names on things that are in camera view. And then they can work on things like logos stuck under the seat or on like a sheet of paper or a flyer, or like logos painted within the bathroom walls, and just random areas that fans would have access to and be able to see that cameras broadcasting the game would not be able to see. Like locker rooms and all of those type of things. So now the Burgundy and Gold franchise has a chance to slowly work on changing all of that from the old to the new. They now have plenty of time to rebrand their stadium and the stadium experience if they want to add upgrades, which would be great, because FedEx Field, honestly, is one of the least progressive fields in the NFL, period. I would hope with this stadium, or at the very least the next stadium that we end up getting, they make it far more modern than it currently is. Something similar to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium down the street from me that the Atlanta Falcons play in. That's a great stadium. Dome when the weather is terrible, even though I know a lot of fans like when teams play in terrible weather. And then they can open up the roof whenever the weather is great. And of course, players love playing in domes, especially quarterbacks and wide receivers. Also, there could be a lot of unrest and even fan-on-fan arguments and maybe even physical fights that could erupt from having fans at games this early. There's still crowds that passionately are against changing the name and the logo. And then there's fans like me that are more progressive and are either okay or just dealing with the name change or logo or prefer it. And so one side may get into arguments with the other side at games because it's still fairly fresh, and some of the guys that passionately love the old name and logo and are on the internet arguing every day that we should never change it and change it back in all caps and all kinds of stuff, putting a lot of energy towards what is inevitably gone, they are quite likely to get into altercations with the other fans. It will basically be three crowds there. It will be the other team and then two different Burgundy and Gold fan bases, all crammed into one stadium, and violence can break out at any point between those three groups. Which is wild to think about, but it's a reality. And then I know there's probably people outside of our fan base that are joking that, hey, well, at least for y'all are going to have fans there anyway, but that's not true. We have one of the most passionate fan bases in the world, not just in football, but just in the world. And there will always be fans at the game. I feel like last year was more of a go on strike to show that we're upset type of thing, but it's not like a we lost fans. With this new era, if fans were allowed at the stadium, I'm pretty sure it would have been packed week 1. And I'm pretty sure it will be packed once we officially allow fans back at the stadium. I feel like us having so many empty seats this past season was more of an on-purpose message to Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen and all of the guys that we need big changes. At the end of the day, we have one of the most passionate fan bases in football in the world across any sport. And plus, we don't want these super diehard fans go to the game every week type of fans to be driven away by the lack of preparation by the Burgundy and Gold franchise for week 1 and any early weeks. Especially as far as like amenities and conveniences that a lot of stadiums have that FedEx Field don't have because we're still stuck in the past. And then also, if we go the entire season without fans, 2021 could have a lot of momentum built up for fans to return, especially with a much better looking team talent-wise and coaching-wise. I feel like this 2020 season may not be a great season, a playoff berth season, a Super Bowl winning season, of course, but I feel like it will be that season that will show a lot of hope for this team turning around. Similar to how the end of that Chiefs season where Pat Mahomes played the last couple of games, and even though the Chiefs weren't necessarily great then, they could see that the next years to come, they have something growing there. And then as you've seen, recent Super Bowl winners, one of the deadliest offenses in NFL history, and they can see signs of that the season that they didn't look great. I feel like 2020 will be that for us, but instead of it being towards the end of the season, I feel like we'll see signs of hope throughout the season with a lot of the young talent we have at very crucial positions, most notably quarterback, showing a lot of development, a lot of growth, and a lot of potential. And coming into 2021, when hypothetically week 1 is the first time we've had fans since the 2019 season, that could be a large new era opening, a large unveiling of this much improved franchise, especially after the 2021 draft, after we bring in some more great talent, after the 2021 free agency when we'll have top 3 cap space. This will just be a whole new team. Since the last time y'all were here in 2019 to the first time y'all been back in 2021, since Ron Rivera's been here, Jack Del Rio, Scott Turner, and all of the players, coaching staff, front office, I feel like it can be a big moment in our franchise's history for everything to just hit at once. You're combining the differences we made in 2020 and 2021 offseason and just throwing it at us all at once. Just opening the curtain. I mean, you never know. We may have Jalen Ramsey at cornerback next season. I mean, it could just be a huge unveiling, and I'm a big fan of that, honestly. As more of a silver lining to the fact that we won't have fans at games in 2020, at least for some of them, rather than it being a preference, but that is a nice silver lining to it. Also, by 2021, we may have another new name and another new logo. We may no longer be the Washington football team. Hopefully, for me, we'll be the Washington Red Wolves by then, especially if we keep the movement going strong. But who knows? Honestly, by 2021, we may look completely different. We may no longer be the Washington football team, and we'll be going through an entirely new name change and logo, and it would be nice to just transition from Redskins to hopefully the Red Wolves all in one, rather than having fans at games going from rooting for the Redskins to the Washington football team to hopefully the Red Wolves. We can just go from the original name, the past name, to the newest name, rather than a new name in the middle, the Washington football team. But of course, before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask y'all how y'all feel about no fans being at the Burgundy and Gold games this season. Do you like the idea? Do you prefer it? Or do you hate it? Are you against it? I want to know all of y'all positives and negatives. I will be in the comment section. And now moving on, the Washington football team has announced its broadcast crew, being led by Deangelo Hall as the color commentator. You know him from NFL Network as a consistent analyst up there. And then longtime Washington sports broadcaster and podcaster, has been on John Combs' podcast plenty of times. Bram Weinstein will be the play-by-play guy. And you can see that Julie Donaldson is not playing. I love her hire as SVP of Media and Content. She's been very progressive, very creative, and working very quickly. We have the training camp lives, 9 a.m. every morning for about 45 minutes. And then like a 30-minute show in the afternoon that also revolves around training camp, but it's more centered on player interviews rather than just analysis and breakdowns of training camp. And then she also created the part of the website that allows us fans to give our input for what the new name and logo should be, what it all should mean, what the colors, anything as far as rebranding goes. You can go to that website and give your feedback and your input. And they're actually paying attention. The recent episodes of the training camp lives, they've actually been showcasing a lot of the fans' feedback and input, and have actually discussed it on the show. And of course, Red Wolves has come up several times, and they've been talking about the momentum is growing on social media and everywhere amongst fans. Hopefully they choose it, but again, Julie Donaldson is doing a great job, and to go along with that, she has moved quickly and already hired her broadcast crew. Now, it is interesting that Deangelo Hall recently, just a few weeks ago, was talking about he regret ever signing with this team and wish he went to the Patriots because he wanted Super Bowls. But he opened up about those comments on the training camp live to Julie Donaldson and didn't necessarily retract the statement, but he did reiterate that he grew up a fan of this team. The reason he chose this team over the Patriots because he grew up loving them, born and raised in the Virginia area. This team always has a place in his heart no matter what's going on, and he's extremely honored to have the opportunity to be one of the voices of this franchise moving forward. So he was able to clear that up a little bit. I'm still a little iffy on it. Plus, he usually has something bad to say about a player, specifically Dwayne Haskins when he's been on NFL Network. But I may warm up to Deangelo Hall over time. We'll see. Congratulations to Mr. Hall and Mr. Weinstein. I'm hoping y'all do a great job and work well together. And again, shouts out to Julie Donaldson for being so progressive and quick with everything. I mean, we're just moving forward and moving forward. And same as the previous topic. Even though this one was very brief compared to the previous one, I still want to know how y'all feel about this new broadcast team. Of course, they're replacing Larry Michael, who's been accused of some pretty terrible things. And plus, a lot of y'all, I mean, I've always just been neutral. I don't really care, honestly, who's been broadcasting the games or whatever. I'm here for the X's and O's. The overall experience doesn't really matter to me. But a lot of y'all already hated Larry Michael with his skin tangibles and all of that type of stuff. I've always been neutral. I've never cared this way or that way. But I want to know how y'all feel about this new broadcast team, and if you feel like they'll mesh well, if you'll enjoy their voices and their commentary and their opinions. And that's the end of this video. I appreciate the support. Please like the video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please don't leave this video without liking it. Quick, easy, painless for y'all. Also, please subscribe if you haven't, and definitely hit that bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification every time I release a video, every time I live stream, or even every time I schedule a live stream. You'll know ahead of time. Because if you don't hit that bell next to the subscription button, you'll just occasionally get a notification when I do things. So make sure you hit that bell next to the subscription button after you subscribe. And of course, shouts out to all of my sponsors. Big shout out to everybody that donates. Again, y'all's contributions are going right back into the stream. I have so many great things coming up, a lot of great content, a lot of improvements to the videos and live streams, a lot of things in store for y'all. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.